Hey guys, hope you're doing great. So it's been about 2 months since I've been in LA now, and I finally have my studio, or as normal people would call it, apartment, all set up and ready to go. So this is the area that I use for all of my Twitch streaming, as well as my YouTube recording and editing. So I thought I'd take you guys through a little bit of a tour, a walkthrough about the equipment that I use, the tricks of the trade that I use to make my videos as well as stream. So the setup that you see here at this desk here is all purpose. There's no other workstations or anything else that I use. Everything happens right here. So this is actually a dual PC setup. So there's two PCs. The one on the right is going to be the gaming PC, which does exactly what it sounds like. And then the one on the left is going to be my streaming PC. And as you can see, it's a pretty low key case. It's got no fancy RGB lighting, no liquid cooler, anything like that. It's super quiet and it just does its job because making it pretty colors doesn't make it go faster. So why do I care? So the main difference between these two computers is that the gaming computer is going to have a 1080 graphics card in it, and for the streaming computer, it's going to have an i7 8700K processor with 32 gigs of RAM. Now, the way that these two PCs are linked together is through a capture card, and the one that I'm using is called the Elgato 4K60 Pro. Now, this is a very, very top of the line capture card, but the reason that I'm using it isn't for that 4K resolution, which it can do. The reason that I'm using it is for higher frame rates. So in order to stream in the highest quality possible, the gaming PC wants to only do gaming related tasks. It wants to not only perform at extremely high frame rates as well as maintain those on the nice monitor, but it wants to do those with really, really nice video settings so that the game is actually appealing to watch for an audience. It's pretty easy to achieve 300 frames per second if you turn all settings to minimum and most of the lighting settings off. But if you want to make the game actually good to look at as well as maintain those 300 frames per second, it's going to be a little bit challenging, but a dedicated streaming and dedicated gaming PC makes that a lot easier. And this is where one of the real benefits of the Elgato 4K60 comes in, is the fact that instead of trying to have some sort of setup on the gaming PC where it's transmitting 60 frames per second of footage to the capture card, that capture card actually can take 240 hertz of information right into the streaming PC, and then I can do the conversion to 60 frames per second on the streaming PC itself, and it removes any sort of problems that that display driver would struggle with otherwise. So it's an absolutely fantastic card. I love it. If you've tried to use any of Elgato's kind of more entry-level cards, or heaven forbid you went with AverMedia, those were always a nightmare for me to deal with, but the 4K60 was just plug and play. It's a fantastic card, and I love it to bits. So the capture card is what's going to pass the video information from the gaming PC to the streaming information just over a simple HDMI cable, but audio is a lot trickier. Now, I used to use full-on audio mixers with XLR cables and dual quarter-inch cables going every which way through ground loop isolators and different kind of sound cards, but the Go XLR is the mixer, or rather the audio interface that I'm using now. It does have some limitations, however, I'm just starting to use it, and the depth at which it has, I still haven't quite experienced everything it has to offer yet. The downsides of this is that it doesn't have multiple microphones in, which is going to be not a problem for like 99% of use cases, but if I ever am trying to like stream and I have two people here, for example, I'm trying to do like a live interview in person, then it's going to be challenging because it only has one XLR in. But it's a great audio interface. It's got a really slick app that allows me to kind of separate all of the different audio channels and control them individually. So a fantastic audio interface that I'm still learning to use, but just in the last couple of streams that I've been using for, I've really enjoyed it. And anytime I've run into a problem or have been looking for a solution that I need to solve when it comes to audio, So far, I have been able to find the solution through using the Go XLR. So very much recommended. It was basically purpose built for 2PC streaming, and I believe it was introduced, or at least I first heard about it at last year's TwitchCon. Now, before we get into talking about peripherals, I did want to just put a disclaimer out there. The Dallas Fuel is sponsored by Corsair, and Corsair owns Elgato. However, the vast majority of Corsair or Elgato equipment that I use is utterly fantastic. The stuff that I'm still kind of fiddling with, not sure if I like it, I'm just going to let you know. So yes, the Dallas Fuel is sponsored by Corsair, but I'm going to give you my completely honest opinions about the gear that I use. And if it didn't work, well, I wouldn't use it. So starting off with the headset, the two different Corsair headsets that I'm playing with right now are going to be the HS50 and the HS60. These are Corsair headsets that use 3.5mm jacks because for a lot of the equipment that I'm using, it simply can't take USB input. So I use those. They're very nice headsets for gaming. When I am trying to do like listen to audio, some of my music, any of my just like personal stuff, I'm gonna be using a Bowers & Wilkins P9 Signature. This is an incredibly expensive but very high quality set of cans that are basically for audio enthusiasts. I managed to get them for a fantastic deal, and well, they've ruined me. So if you've never listened to music on like a really good set of headphones, don't, because you won't be able to listen to anything else ever again. For mice, I'm still playing around trying to find a Corsair one that I like. Corsair mice are generally a bit heavier, which is preference, and unfortunately I tend to enjoy the lighter mice. Mice that I've enjoyed in the past have been the Razer Death Adder 2016 version, the Logitech G403, as well as the Final Mouse Ultralight Pro. All three of those were fantastic mice. I wanted to like the Logitech G Pro. Unfortunately, I really didn't like the shape of the mouse, and its sides were kind of like slanted inwards. Didn't like it, wanted to like it, but no, the 403, the Death Adder, and the Ultralight are the three mice that I've probably liked the most. As far as Corsair mice go, I'm currently using the Iron Claw, but I have a Harpoon on order. It's their lighter wireless version that I'm really looking forward to trying out. For keyboards, currently I'm using the Corsair K63 Rapid Fire. Now, normally I like 60% boards, and if you don't know what that means, a 60% board is a keyboard without any function keys, arrow keys, utility keys, or a numpad. It's a very small board, which gives you more room for your mouse hand to operate, especially if you're a lower sensitivity player. So the good thing about the K63 is that it is the rapid fire version, which means it has Cherry's new silver switches. Now, silver switches, if you're not a keyboard fanatic, they have a 1.2mm actuation distance compared to the 2mm actuation distance of normal Cherry switches. That makes the travel distance a lot smaller, and it makes it easier to rapid fire or press the same button multiple times in rapid succession. When I'm not using the K63, I have a set of Vortex pokers, one with blacks and ones with clears. I prefer tactile switches for typing, but linear switches for gaming. And then my flagship board, if you can even call it that, is a custom-built Ergodox Carbon, again with silver switches. The only reason I'm not using this board is because it's a ergonomic board, again a split keyboard, and it's not your standard QWERTY format, so it requires a bit of time to get used to and learn, and I simply haven't had the time to learn it yet. Really looking forward to doing that though. It's a fantastic board, and it's kind of been my dream board for quite a while now. And with the dual PC setup, the way you control both computers with only one mouse and keyboard is through a KVM switch. It's simply a switch connected to a little toggle where when you press the button, it then routes the mouse and the keyboard to the different computer. So I use that so that I don't have to waste desk space with a second keyboard and mouse. Other little peripherals that I use for my streaming setup, I have a Falcon macro pad. It's simply an 8-button mini keyboard that I can put hotkeys on. I use a very, very simple Wacom Bamboo tablet, as well as just a no-name brand mouse bungee. However, one of the best standalone peripherals that I use is again an Elgato Stream Deck. Now, if you are trying to just get into streaming, or you are a little bit of a streamer, Elgato Stream Deck is honestly the most useful piece in your kit. It will be from day one to day 1000. It's such an amazing piece of technology. It's basically like the Falcon macro pad, where it allows you to do a whole bunch of hotkey assignments, but it interfaces with so many different things. It interfaces with OBS, so you can do scene switching, you can do source toggles, it can connect to Twitter and connect to Twitch, to Streamlabs. It's basically all in one. It connects everything that you need in order to stream, and it puts it on hotkeys, and the keys themselves provide information right there visually. Fantastic piece of kit, and it's just a joy to use. It's so cool. You can do so many things for it, and there's now some developers making some custom apps for it. So it's awesome, and it's only getting better. That's not sponsored or anything like that. It's just awesome. They even have like a mini 6-key version, which is even cheaper, but great piece of kit. If you're interested in streaming at all, get one. Now, in terms of microphones, you may have noticed that I don't really use the standard microphones that come with gaming headsets. This microphone is a Shure SM7B. It's a very, very popular microphone for both streamers and podcasters. A bit on the expensive side and is an XLR connection, so you do need some sort of mixer or audio interface to use it. However, it provides a great sound to it if you can set it up correctly. I have 2 of those for a lot of my projects where I'm not the only person recording audio. And then I also have a Sennheiser 416 shotgun microphone that I use for recording videos like this. And any microphone that I'm using while I'm streaming is attached to this really super handy dandy Rode mic stand. In terms of getting the audio actually onto the computer, I either use the Go XLR if I'm streaming, or if I'm doing anything on YouTube, I use an H4n audio recorder. This thing is fantastic. One of the limitations in my audio setup right now is the fact that the Go XLR only has one XLR in, which means that when I am streaming, I can only have one microphone active. I'll probably get around that in the next couple of months by getting a Focusrite Scarlett audio interface and probably some wireless lavalier microphones if I am going to be doing some more types of interview podcast content or more kind of like just chatting and IRL sort of stuff. But that's a while away and I have no kind of immediate need for those pieces of tech. As far as cameras go, I have a 3-camera setup. I'm using 2 Canon SL2s. They're kind of Canon's baseline DSLR. They get the job done. They provide a clean HDMI out so that I can plug them directly into my computer using, again, you guessed it, an Elgato cam link. They're fantastic pieces of kit that just allow you to seamlessly plug and play a DSLR camera into a computer and have it function like a webcam. It's awesome, super easy. When I want a little bit more than just a glorified DSLR for a webcam, I also have Canon's EOS T7i. It's a little bit of a nicer camera, and that's the one that I'd be using if I go to events or want to record something handheld. It's just a little bit of a nicer camera, and it does a better job of providing that nicer image and those nicer videos. I have a small collection of lenses as well, but if you're asking me for advice on camera lenses, then you're asking the wrong person. I just kind of use whichever one makes the picture look the way I want it to and call it a day. Learning about cameras, videography, even audio recordings at some point has been a work in progress, so we're just kind of learning it as we go. The webcam that you're seeing on my monitor isn't actually for streaming. I only really use that if I'm going to be going into a call with friends or using Skype or a Discord call or something like that, because it's just kind of weird to be on a call, like a video call with people, and just have an obscenely high quality camera. So if I'm doing anything like that, well, the normal webcam is the way to go. As far as tripods go, I have 3 Manfrotto tripods, 2 Element tripods, which are really, really lightweight and easy to carry around, and then 1 nicer, beefier tripod. It's a Manfrotto 190 with a ball head mount, which I can do a whole bunch of stuff with, including turning 90 degrees to do top-down recordings if I want to write something down on the table and have that in frame or something of that variety. As far as lighting goes, I've got a lot of lights in the apartment, and this is still one of the things that I'm working on. I don't really have a lighting system for any of the pre-recorded content or direct to YouTube kind of content. However, for streaming, I'm using a pair of Elgato key lights. Elgato is honestly just makes some of the greatest high quality stuff for streaming on the market. There's not even competitors for some of their stuff, and the key lights again fall into that category. The lights that I were using prior to the key light were soft boxes, and they are just massive. They get hot, they had massive bulbs that need to be replaced, and because they were so large, I couldn't have my desk right up against walls. I had to have quite a bit of kind of real estate behind my desk for the lighting. But with these things, they're super low profile, so I can have my desk right up against the wall. You can control brightness, again, from the Stream Deck. You can control temperature, toggle them on and off. They're great. They're super good. I love them, and they just really simplified my entire streaming setup. I'll probably get something like an Aperture softbox for doing more kind of like YouTube content, more interviews, podcasts, sort of content. But for now, I haven't really come to a conclusion about where I'm gonna go with trying to light more traditional studio projects. And that's the hardware I use. It's a pretty simple setup, and by that I mean it's been a painful process of trial and error to figure out the equipment that works and works in a very simple manner. I like my setup. Is it the best for everyone else? No, probably not. I hear that NDI is a new technology coming out that is kind of replacing the need for capture cards and audio interfaces like GoXLR, but I haven't experimented with it in any variety. So if you are kind of like new to this game and you're like, oh man, that's a lot of hardware, well, check out NDI. Can't vouch for it myself personally, but I know people like Siegel do use it for their streaming setups to good success. As far as software, the main one that you need to be aware of is just OBS proper. I would really truly recommend using OBS over Streamlabs OBS. I've used both. I love Streamlabs as a platform, as a tool for streaming, but simply put, the original OG OBS is way better than Streamlabs OBS. Streamlabs OBS doesn't have as good a performance, doesn't have those really advanced settings if you are going to be that power user and want to make sure you're fine-tuning absolutely everything you can to get the best quality stream. And then I've also had Streamlabs, I've had problems with it in the past where it's crashed my computer or my setup. So definitely would recommend OBS, and take the time to learn the program, all of those fine options, like are you supposed to be using partial or full color spaces, things like that. Spoiler alert, the answer is partial, not full. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. If I was to go into detail about all like the little pieces of software that I use, this video would be a lot longer. But no, the next video that I'll probably make like this, maybe I'll show you around my apartment, because this is pretty nice, but you know, I've got some other things to show you, and maybe even we'll take a peek down at the Dallas Fuel offices, where we have quite the setup for actually kind of working with the pros and trying to win as many games as possible. So I hope you enjoyed this video. All of the details are going to be in the description below. I'll make sure that there's a full list of everything that I use for my streaming setup as well as my recording setup in the description below, and I'll be sure to keep an eye on the comments if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed taking a sneak peek into my setup, and I hope you have a fantastic day.